What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Dark the Truth Podcast. I'm so glad that you have taken some time out of your day to join me here. We're going to go deep with this with people. And I want to start off by saying I don't try to make these videos so long. I was looking at my YouTube analytics and certain things, with the algorithm and stuff and all the kind of technical stuff. And I was seeing, I really want to get deep into a lot of things. I know they may kind of drag off, but me being aware of our attention span, sometimes I'm going to try to, streamline, make sure everything is, I don't want to pack too much information in one video. So if I have to make it a part 1 or a part 2, just be aware that I might do that. So we're going to get right into it. NPC humans. What is that? What is the definition of that? I know some of you may have came across it, probably saw it on the internet, probably didn't really know what it really was. NPC stands for non-playable characters. And basically what it is, it's a term used from video games. When you're playing video games, for example, you're I don't know why I'm thinking of Grand Theft Auto for some reason, but let's use Grand Theft Auto for an example, because Grand Theft Auto is a really good example of a game where it's open world, and you can pretty much, if you're not actually playing the actual story that revolves around the game, then you can pretty much just kind of walk around like Vice City or San Andreas and stuff. And you see people just walking around, characters that you can't play with or play, so to speak. You can interact with those characters, but you actually can't take control of that character and play the character. You're just limited to the one character that is the main antagonist or protagonist of the game. So in NPC, background humans, backfill people, spiritless humans, human beings that simply serve as a backdrop for reality or of reality. Now, I know this may be off the wall, some crazy type thinking, but I think we owe it to ourselves as spiritual human beings who are spirits first, humans second, to even contemplate the fact of when we're looking at all the evil that happens in the world, all the things that just makes you wonder, how can humans even do something like that? Well, then the question should be even asked, are these people really human? And NPC, background humans, and spiritless humans, sometimes those things can be two different things. An NPC and background humans sometimes may not be the same thing as a spiritless human. So NPCs are almost as if you're playing a game that the universe seems to auto-populate people as to make the matrix of reality seem more real or concrete. Although they inhabit a human body, they are devoid of what we call a soul. They operate on a lower level frequency of energy and only possess awareness, but not spiritual self-awareness. So we're going to use this for an example. Animals like dogs, cats, squirrels, and things like that, they have a spirit. That's why I hate saying spiritless humans. We're going to say more like soulless humans. They have a spirit. The spirit is nothing more, in my opinion, than what energizes the human body to walk around this earth. So everything has a spirit. A tree has a spirit. A rock has a spirit. Water has a spirit. The air has a spirit. Your dog has a spirit. Your cat has a spirit. But not everything possesses a soul. And when we think about a soul, we probably can even say that is the divine spark. In certain mythologies, you have where human beings are created, but we're pretty much at one point just simply automaton, robots, pretty much. The Sumerian Babylonian mythology, well, mainly the Sumerian mythology, is a beautiful, and whether or not you really agree with them being able to translate these cuneiform, these tablets and things like that they find, when you study the mythology and when you look at the mythology, which was really spearheaded and made popular by this author, let me look up his name. 1 second here. Let's see, Book of Enki, which is a Sumerian god. Zechariah Sitchin, that's his name. When you look at the works that he published and authored and published, some people may think that he was just simply an agent or like a tool being used by the Illuminati or powers that be, what have you, to simply, what's the word I'm looking for? To put some propaganda out there But when I started to study and look into this mythology myself, the Sumerian mythology, when it comes to Tiamat and Kingu and gods like Marduk, Enlil, and Enki, and Ereshkigal, things like that. And when you look at this whole thing of human beings were actually created the Anunnaki, human beings were actually created at one point to simply be slaves, pretty much, to those that came down from Earth, came down to Earth. And they created us to relieve the workload of the gods. And we're going to get into that a little bit. But going back to this lower level frequency of energy that these NPCs, these soulless humans, they only possess awareness. They only possess, but they don't possess any spiritual self-awareness. Those are two different things. A dog is aware of what's happening to it. But does a dog have a soul? Something that reaches beyond just me? A flight or fight type syndrome. We have all that in us as human beings, even us conscious, elevated, spiritual folks, where you get down to the whole flight or fight thing. So NPC humans only perceive the world through their physical five senses. Any sort of spiritual or metaphysical concepts are foreign, alien, and sometimes scary to them. Talk about what happened on a reality TV show and the conversation can go on and on and on and on. Switch to a spiritual subject beyond the group think herd mentality. So i.e. Christianity or i.e. one of the three major world religions. Switch from that. And sometimes it looks like it's something in them shuts off and they aggressively begin to reject it. There's a difference between not agreeing with someone's opinion versus when they bring a subject up, you automatically shut down. How many of you think about this right now? How many of you have come across people where you had something really deep and philosophical on your mind? And your spirit, your soul was really contemplating these things. And you bring it to your friends, you bring it to certain members of your family, you may even bring it to a stranger on the street. And it seems as if they are automatically just shut down, as if something in them is programmed to say, something's conscious. He's saying something about consciousness. Shut down. Don't respond to it or aggressively reject it. I have a really good friend, for example, who I love to death. But I can't acknowledge the fact that it does seem, though, that we can get together. We can have the greatest of times together let me put it this way. We can have the greatest times together on a mundane human level. So, we may go out for drinks or, stuff like that. But then the moment I may bring up something like, well, let's take COVID-19 for an example. Oh, is this something that in them just shuts down? They can't accept it. They refuse to accept it. You see, NPCs are just simply background people in the world that you just walk around and they just seem like they're just soulless. They're just there to and these people are actually living out their lives. If you want to think about it from a matrix point of view, they're living out their lives. They have jobs. A lot of them even have children. But they're simply there to make to make reality seem more concrete. I know this may sound weird, but bear with me. So we see that when it comes to any type of spiritual subject beyond the world's three major religions, they shut down. They violently reject it. It's something in their mind. It kind of reminds me, if you're a Star Wars fan, like I am, if you're a Star Wars fan, when you look at the clones, for example, the clone troopers, how they all looked alike. And there was something in them programmed inside them, this microchip thing that was put into them, where if you watch Star Wars Episode 3, the Emperor says execute Order 66. Although the entire time the clones, or eventually what they became known as the Stormtroopers, were on the side of the Jedi, as soon as Emperor Palpatine said execute Order 66, something clicked in them. Something that was already pre-programmed in them clicked, and then they turned on the Jedi. So it's kind of, if I'm using a movie science fiction type thing, I could think of it that way. Now let's look at NPC behavior. NPCs do not have independent thought or individuality. They believe they are individuals based off aesthetics alone, but when given the herd mentality of the masses, they will quickly fall in line. What does that mean? An NPC, background humans, backfill people that just extras on a set of reality. to them, they are individual people. They have their biases, they have their likes, they have the things that they love, they have the things that they hate, they have their favorite food, they have the food that they hate, they have their favorite coffee in the morning, they have their favorite things to do. But that is just merely aesthetics. From a higher standpoint, in the scheme of things, that doesn't really mean anything. But the moment you bring something into the herd mentality, the group hive mind that we all share to a certain extent, even us conscious ones, then they will quickly fall in line. It's as if there is no individuality among them, because the individuality is merely based off simple day-to-day mundane things that, I mean, even dogs have their own personalities, and even one dog may eat something that, and the other dog may not like the same thing that the dog is eating. So it's kind of like that. The balance of the ego and spirit are a missing component in them, and therefore they are only ruled by an elementary, crude ego, only preoccupied with the physical and mundane survival. Involvement with any spiritual life for the sake of it, activities that do not benefit the physical mundane world, are avoided. So what does this mean? That they lack the balance of the ego and the spirit. So then only the ego rules them, and they're only preoccupied with mundane physical life and physical survival. When you get to certain people that it seems, because who knows, you could be dealing with the NPC in your own family. You can have friends that are NPCs or whatever. They are human beings. Don't get me wrong. These are people that, but you know when you're encountering an NPC, because there's something inside of you with your spiritual awareness of things that you even look at your own friends and family that you love to death and dearly care about them. And you wonder to yourself, why can't you see that? Why can't you accept that? Or like, why can't you not even accept something? Why can't you even entertain a thought? It's like they can't even entertain a thought. Like, it is so foreign to them. And if they have to, they would immediately, argue with you, not argue with you based off, we're arguing based off our different ideas about a subject, but they're arguing with you because they want you to shut up. They want you just to quickly change the subject, because something in them can't go deeper into that. They have a certain level of awareness, and once you hit that certain level, that peak of that level, it cuts off. And usually it has anything really to do with something spiritual, something conscious. So then you're quickly dismissed as a conspiracy theorist. You're quickly dismissed as being someone that's thinking too deep into something, or you're reaching, too hard into something, because that is if all the world is a stage, like Shakespeare said, then even on a stage, I'm going to bring it to the modern world. If all the world is a movie, then even in movies, you have the main characters, the actors, but then you have the extras to make the set, to make the reality seem more real. Because if you make a movie and say if two people take Law and Order, for example. I love Law and Order, mainly Law and Order SVU, Special Victims Unit. Imagine if you're watching Law and Order, for example, and this is supposed to be taking place in our real world reality, our current reality. Imagine if Benson and Stabler are just walking down the streets of New York and no one's around. They're the only two that are just walking around. It just wouldn't seem realistic, especially in New York. So you have to have extras in the background to fill in things, to get the mind to accept the fact that this is really happening in reality, because in reality, I would be walking around and there would be other people walking around me, especially in a busy city like New York. So that's where we kind of get that connotation of the example of an NPC human. But then the moment you get on something spiritual or something that to them is a conspiracy theorist, or it's a conspiracy, or it's something that you're thinking too deep, their minds just automatically jump off. Well, not jump off, it shuts down. And all spiritual things done for the sake of spiritual things, not because you're doing something because you're trying to affect change in the mundane reality. No. I'm going to use myself as an example, if I may. When it comes to me and my spiritual research and reading books and, meditating and yoga and things like that. You do it and you aren't seeking any reward from it, from the mundane world. I'm not reading books and doing all this study because I feel like this is going to somehow put money in my pocket or I'm going to become a celebrity. No, you do it for the sake of it. This is really going to bring some type of, I'm going to become rich. And you know what I'm saying? It's different between practicing for a football game I have the intention of winning this game that's coming up versus me reading the book just for the sake of reading the book. I'm reading the book because it does something for me. It puts something in my soul. It puts something in my mind. There's a fire, a yearning, something deep inside of a lot of us that we can't put our finger on. We can't even give a name to it. That's why we have to use such crude human terms for it, because it's so divine and so beyond us in the mundane physical type on an earthly level that all we can really name it is saying a fire inside of you, because that's what the human mind can look at and say. And the soul is looking at that too and say, okay, well, because face it, when you die, are you going to be speaking English? Are you going to be speaking Spanish or, an Asian language or anything like that? No. The soul only goes based off symbols. Fire is a symbol to the subconscious mind. So then when I'm trying to explain how I'm feeling, the only thing my human mundane brain can put an example to is fire, because fire consumes things. When you feed it with something, air, fire would just take over things, air, gasoline, lighter fluid or something like that. So you already have that fire in you. And the air, the gasoline, the lighter fluid, that's the books you read. That's the videos that you watch that talk about spiritual things. That's the spiritual exercises that you do. And you do it not seeking any type of monetary reward from it, not seeking any type of friendship from any. You just do it because it's almost as if you, just as much as your body needs to eat and drink water, it's the same way. So let's go back a little bit deeper into this.